The following program is rated 14+ and may contain coarse language, violence, nudity, mature subject matter, or scenes which may not be suitable for all viewers. Viewer discretion is advised.
The lion survives so long, the new lion comes in, kills them, and takes over their bread. Same thing in the mob. And your best friend is the one who's gonna whack you next time. You never know who it is. It's never ending. I started getting a lot of respect. Now I'm with the biggest family there is, in control of Toronto. I'd kill for him. I would do it in a blind sight. I wouldn't hesitate. The mob is what controls the world. But drug lord is one thing, bikers are another thing, but the mob controls banks, lawyers, policemen, money laundering, drugs. But worldwide, you're talking about $80 billion a year. Just like an octopus, you have your fingers everywhere, every country. It's never ending.
Most people are completely swamped by the American mythology of organized crime.
The reasons for the mob's success are clear. Organization and discipline, vows of secrecy and loyalty, insulation of its leaders from direct criminal involvement.
It's a very nasty world, very violent.
There's not only Sicilians, there are those from Calabria, the southern part of Italy, the Calabresi, called the 'Ndrangheta.
La 'Ndrangheta è stata sempre sottovalutata. Si è parlato tanto di mafia, si è parlato molto poco di 'Ndrangheta. La 'Ndrangheta si chiama l'onorata società. L'onore è quello di creare le faide, quelle guerre interminabili tra varie famiglie che coinvolgono tutti i componenti della famiglia, compresi i bambini.
The 'Ndrangheta basically morphed from something in Italy to the New World. It's a very different situation here in Canada.
Remo Camiso runs the Camiso clan in Toronto, Canada.
If you wanted to draw a picture of a mafia leader, he would be it.
The organized crime, murder incorporated, they kill people and get away with it.
The Camisos were new Canadians who were more aggressive.
There was a lot of money in getting people shot or scared or blown up.
My name is Alberto Giuseppe Ferraro Moya. I knew that I wasn't a normal kid. I stabbed the first guy at 13 years old because he was treating me bad. That's when I realized I wasn't normal. I realized that if you push me, I would hurt you, right? I'm born in Ecuador, 1962, and I'm part Italian and part Spanish. I was 9.5 years old when we got to Canada, and we moved to the St. Clair area, which was an Italian area. My father opened up a business when we got to Toronto. We opened up a supermarket business, and we started selling Italian food. Started seeing people walking in, and the people were coming in with high-end cars, and they would gamble all day. In the back of the cop shop, there was a gambling area where the Italians hang out. I liked what they were doing. I liked how people walked in, how they had money, you had class, and you had to work. They just gamble all day. So I was intrigued by it. And I said, I don't want to live like a normal guy. I want to see like these gangs coming in, these gangsters with Camaros and Porsches and Corvettes, nice clothes, sit down, gamble all day, have coffees and drinks, and bet $500 or $1,000 a hand and playing Italian games. And so that intrigued me. So I decided that day when I was almost 13, I said, this is what I want to do.
If you kill someone in the Italian mob, you are never safe. You can try to insulate yourself, you can try to grow to power, but vengeance has no timeline with the Mafia.
All'omicidio appunto può essere legata a questioni anche personali o comunque legate al loro concetto di onore, oppure legata appunto alla necessità di vendicare un omicidio precedente.
Biggest cause of most traditional organized crime deaths is revenge. And revenge can come from anything.
When it comes to organized crime, so much of what they do is built on money, on muscle, on fear, on intimidation, on power. But underneath all of that, it's built on vengeance. And with the Italian mob, vengeance has no timeline. They do not forget. In the 1940s, the father, Ramo and Cosmo Commisso, was murdered in Italy. Fast forward 40 years, the Commissos are here in Canada. They're serving time in jail for their crimes. But there's an opportunity to strike back.
Miguel Alberti era rientrato a Siderno dall'Argentina. Era sospettato del vecchio omicidio, di un vecchio omicidio a carico di un appartenente alla famiglia Comis. Era stato invitato da due personaggi che aveva conosciuto da poco a un pranzo presso il ristorante Le Gourmet di Siderno. Insomma, si capì chiaramente che era stato portato lì, posto in una trappola, era stata fatta una trappola in modo tale da poterlo assassinare. E durante il pranzo venne assassinato. A questo pranzo io ricordo che c'era un elenco di partecipanti, una ventina di persone circa, alcune facenti parte del Siderno Group, sede Siderno, e alcune provenienti dal Canada, perché a Siderno nulla si muove che non voglia Commisso.
E come questa sia una costante nel tempo delle vicende del clan Commisso.
I remember at 13 years old, when I left the house, I was starting to do karate, I started doing martial arts, I was doing wrestling. So I needed to do this because I know that I need it in the future. I have to be a badass to protect myself and be somebody that's aggressive. So when I used to go to the Gold's Gym, I started meeting drug dealers. They had dope, and I would talk to them, and we'd hang out with them, and we'll have a coffee, and then I'd say, hey, buy from me. I'd say, okay, I'll buy from you, and I'll sell it to the other guys, or I start making income, right? Then I said, okay, now we're going to something bigger. Let's do some coke. We start selling coke. And it started growing to the point where I was making so much money. I was like, wow, this is a day, you know? And I had a Peruvian guy that was bringing the cokes, like large amounts. So that time we were bringing 200-300 kilos. So I had a good price. I could compete. So I asked my friends, I said, you know, I need a big supplier for steroids. I need to make money. How am I going to do this? Goes, don't worry, you know, I have a friend in the United States. So we start buying $20,000, $30,000 of steroids a month. And I can sell that for $70,000, $80,000. I can make like double, triple the price. So I thought, perfectly, let's do that. In my 30s, when the Ferrari crew started in the 80s, that's when I made the crew. It became a group of 50, like, hardcore soldiers. I mean, hardcore. Like Phil McDonald, he's in jail 20 years, 25 years, but he used to bring me every single guy that was not 10 years, 5 years, 15 years, that those hardcore people that really did their time, he'd bring them to me. The baddest of the baddest. In my 30s, my main business was collection because it was quick money. At the end, it was very easy because our name was very powerful, so we had no problem. My guys were really serious. We weren't like Mickey Mouse. Like when we collect, we collect. We didn't fail any collection. So the only way some companies would say is, you know what, I have a fee, the guy owes me $2 million or $3 million, and they'll say, you know, I'll give you 50% or 40% if you collect it. I just have to say, come in and say, listen, my friend, there's a debt outstanding. We have to fix this problem. How would you like to pay it? But if you don't want to tell me that, you can tell me, fuck yourself, fuck you, get out of my office, and I'm gonna walk out of the office and I'll say, thank you very much, shake my hand, and we'll see you later. That's all I have to ever say, you know? I never say I'm gonna beat the fuck out of you, I'm gonna kill you, I don't have to do that. And 99% of the time, they would say, we'd like to pay. And the 1% of the time that didn't happen, after you did it a few times, the word got on the street that you have to pay. Like, you know, you're better off paying because you're gonna get it anyways. And you're gonna pay double because now you got me more cost, now you pissed us off, so you're gonna pay a little bit more, right? There was construction companies that they were gonna do buildings. Some companies would pay a fee, so with no disturbances to their project. So disturbance means the project means that nobody's gonna hold on to the project and take longer than it is, could cost them millions and millions of dollars. People would pay me, you know, some money, $50,000, $100,000 to make sure that the building would be constructed and nobody would come and ask them for any cost. And let's say the building is 13 floors. And you say, oh, can I get 1 floor or 2 floors more? You think it's nothing, but those 2 floors are millions and millions of dollars because it's just the same structure, just a little bit more building. So they would pay a fee for making sure that nobody will give them the problem. And you could get those permits or you could get that building quicker and done without somebody coming in and muscling you. We call it protection fee, right? Some clubs pay for discotheques, pay a protection fee so that nobody will bother them. You have no people coming in and breaking your club, coming in and smashing your club or shutting it down. So there's no fights inside your club or nobody's gonna do anything damage, right? So it's like a insurance policy. I call it insurance policy. So they pay that for insurance policy that everything will be perfect.
In the Mafia, you can only rely on certain people to do certain jobs. You have to have the right mentality. You have to have the strength, the actual physical strength, if we're talking enforcers, to shake people down, to get violent when needed, or the ability to intimidate people. Joe Ferraro is muscle. He would go around trying to collect debts from people. He would go around intimidating people. Joe Ferraro's been known to cut people's limbs off.
La famiglia Commisso, che ha origine in Siderno, è stata una famiglia importante, ho considerato una famiglia molto temuta, molto rispettata e abbastanza ricca. E questa famiglia 'ndrangheta diciamo che è entrata in crisi nel momento in cui si è scontrata con una famiglia molto più piccola che erano i Costa.
In the 1980s, there was a war that broke out between the Costa family and the Commisso family, and it all started over a pissing match, and it ended in vengeance and death. One of the members of the Costa family, for some reason, in the middle of the night, went into the bedroom of one of the Commisso bosses in Italy, whipped it out and took a piss all over his bed, plastered the thing with his urine. This incensed Commisso. And all because of this pissing match, he literally decided he was gonna start a war against the Costa family and that they're all to be wiped out, flushed down the toilet like a bunch of piss themselves.
Police in Calabria, Italy, arrested 7 suspected members of the underworld today. They're believed to be involved in a war that's raging among organized crime families in the region.
Feuds that break out between some of these factions are unbelievable. The things that these people will do to each other, you would never even think of.
The victim of the mob-style hit was 38-year-old Giovanni Costa, who bled to death from a massive throat wound within moments after being shot at close range with a shotgun.
There's over 20 members of the Costa family murdered, one of them even being here in Toronto, taken out by a hit squad that the Camiso family sent to Toronto.
Police intelligence sources say 3 of Giovanni's brothers were killed during Mafia gang wars in Calabria in southern Italy.
They come here to wipe out as many Costas as they can, and this feud that all started with a leak ends up with blood being spilled on the streets of Toronto.
Quando c'è stata la Siren Group, quindi lo scontro tra i Commisso e Costa, alcuni collaboratori hanno parlato di uno scontro tra una pulce di Costa e un elefante.
Questo scontro che ha portato a tanti omicidi, non solo in Calabria, decine di omicidi non solo in Calabria, ma anche un omicidio in Canada. Fatto proprio per inseguire, perché non si riusciva per cercare di sterminare la famiglia che era Costa, la famiglia di 'ndrangheta che era in contrasto con la famiglia Commisso.
Una guerra che decisamente vide i Costa perdenti perché se noi esaminiamo il numero degli omicidi, solamente gli omicidi, tralasciando i tentati omicidi, ci furono 26 omicidi nei confronti di persone appartenenti o legate in qualche modo alla famiglia Costa e 8 omicidi nei confronti di persone legate o appartenenti alla famiglia Commisso.
Però poi quando Costa Giuseppe ha deciso di collaborare con la giustizia, ci ha fornito anche un'altra chiave di lettura. Cioè lui dice sostanzialmente: io ho perso la guerra con i Commisso anche perché i Commisso mi hanno fatto terra bruciata intorno.
So the next thing was where I could make more action. I knew that the power was in Woodbridge. That's where you're going to grow. Woodbridge area is mostly Italians. It's a wealthy area where there's a lot of money. There's private houses, there's mansions. It's the economy of Italians. It's basically where everything moves. But all the people from St. Clair that made millions at that time, the mobs or the families that made money, they'll go to Woodbridge because they had the bigger mansion, they had the bigger, fancier car. Everybody had to have a Range Rover. You had to have that 5,000 square foot home. I moved there in the 90s. The people had money. The people had cash. I had 2 limos. I had the Mercedes. I had the Lambo. I had the Ferrari. And people would knock on my house and say, you know, is that car, can I rent it? And I'd say, well, it's not for rent. It's my private car. You know? But then they started asking, and I said, okay, you know what? I'm going to, as a joke, let me try. So I opened up a company. It was called Ferrari Exotic Car Rentals and Limousine Service. And all of a sudden, people were coming in every day renting limos for weddings, graduations. I said, I'll buy 2 more. So I bought 2 more. And I ended up 30 limos. 30 limos. I had like $3 million, $4 million worth of cars. I'm like, wow, this is great, you know? And as a joke, I was thinking this is a good business just to launder my money. I thought this is perfect, you know, your businesses, they pay you the weddings by checks and stuff like that. I start laundering money through there. And this business started making millions. It started making me more profitable. I'm like, wow, this is great. I had big companies coming in, and then I had all these CEOs of companies taking my limos. And my driver would say, boss, you know what? These guys were talking about how they're going to up the price of the stock and how much they're going to buy and how much they're going to drop in it. So I started realizing that these people were just as crooked as us.
I remember being in Reggio, Calabria once, talking to a police officer. And I said to him, how many murders a month do you get here?
He said, this month we had 65. I'm like, 65 murders? How do you manage that? In Toronto, they get 65 a year. It takes them years to develop a case. And he's like, what case? Take a picture, chalk the body. He says, because tomorrow, the guy that did this killing, he's gonna be dead, because they'll kill him tomorrow. The mafia is everywhere. You go to small towns, you go to big towns. It's the mafia. They may be different colors, they may be different generations, they may be different ethnic sort of backgrounds in terms of Calabrese, Sicilian, the Camorra, for example, in Naples, but it's the mafia.
Ovviamente da bambino si giocava per strada, si giocava con quello che si aveva in un'economia povera, rurale, e poi andavamo a scuola in un paese vicino, Locri, a 8-9 chilometri da casa, e lì ho incontrato i figli degli 'ndranghetisti, i figli dei capi mafia che venivano a scuola con me, e vedevo già che davanti a scuola si comportavano da piccoli mafiosi e io non tolleravo. Molti miei compagni di scuola sono diventati mafiosi, sono diventati 'ndranghetisti, trafficanti di droga, alcuni sono stati ammazzati, altri poi nel mio lavoro di magistrato li ho incontrati nelle aule di tribunale o anche in prigione. Ovviamente le mafie come anche l''ndrangheta mutano col mutare sociale, cambiano, non sono delle strutture statiche e quindi anche loro sono permeabili ai cambiamenti sociali. Io quando ho iniziato io ho iniziato a fare magistrato nell'86 e già c'era ancora la stagione dei sequestri di persona, che è l'attività principale, fiorente dell''ndrangheta, e quindi ho iniziato a...
Kidnapping is big business in Italy. Within the last 10 years, the families of over 400 wealthy Italians have paid ransoms totaling over $100 million.
At that time, kidnapping of industrialists in Italy was sort of the daily event. So they would kidnap these guys, they would run them down into the Aspromonte mountain range where they had caves and you couldn't find these guys. So then they would ransom them. The money was laundered in Toronto through a travel agency down to the Bank of America in New York.
Anche perché l''ndrangheta in quel periodo aveva tantissimi milioni di lire provenienti dal traffico, dal sequestro di persona, perché dal 1975 alla fine degli anni 80 in Italia sono stati più di 150 sequestri di persona, quasi tutti per opera dell''ndrangheta. Le stragi di Falcone a Capaci, di sua moglie Morvillo, dei 5 uomini di scorta, sono stati l'inizio della fine di Cosa Nostra, ma poi all'inizio degli anni 90 l''ndrangheta ha cominciato ad entrare nel business della cocaina, perché Cosa Nostra era impegnata. L''ndrangheta ha approfittato di questo vuoto, di questa grande richiesta di cocaina in Italia e in Europa, quindi ha mandato dei broker in Sud America a comprare più cocaina al prezzo più basso possibile.
Ended up getting a hold of an FBI agent in New York purely by chance, by the name of Rick Denberger.
In 1987, I was involved developing a case based upon an undercover drug purchase. An opportunity arose for a heroin purchase to be made in August of 1988. The heroin came from one of the underlings who worked at the Cafe Giardino, which is the Gambino Brothers Club. That heroin was delivered. It was tested out and determined to be beige heroin, somewhere in the 40% range.
We started talking about the heroin business, and he's telling me he had just got a sample of, I'm gonna say, I think it was around 40%. I realized we're talking the same stuff because we had the same percentage of stuff we were buying in Toronto.
The presumption was that the Gambino brothers, John and Joe Gambino, and their crew had a drug operation going on. The investigation revealed that the Gambino brothers were not the origin point of it in any way, that the origin specifically involved a new group on our radar known as the 'Ndrangheta, based in Calabria in Italy. It was essentially a conspiracy to import heroin and a conspiracy to export cocaine.
The heroin would come here, the money would go to New York, cocaine was being shipped to Italy. I think one of the only things that actually tripped the Italians was that someone was being shipped as baby clothes, and it was going to a woman in Italy who was almost 100 years old.
The box was opened, and the clothing was clearly not baby clothes. It was a towel, some loose cloth, and blocks of cocaine. We had a clear understanding that there were many days before when this same activity happened. The same individuals came down from Canada with money or had money wired down to New York, contacted Colombian cocaine groups, bought cocaine, and shipped it back to Italy. We got an understanding that this group essentially attributed to Vittorio Ierino of Giosa Ionica, which is a small town in Calabria. He was the head of a family or clan there that was active in the importation of cocaine. And the postal authorities in that small town kept copies of the customs declaration affixed to the front of the packages that revealed the shipper, the recipient, the weight, and baby clothes. We were able to develop a listing over time that totaled 127.5 pounds of cocaine that had been shipped over the span of August 1988 through February 1989.
We prosecuted people in Toronto, we prosecuted people in New York, and the Italians went to town in Italy and prosecuted a whole bunch over there. One of the leaders of the Italian was a guy named Vittorio Ierino. He came to Toronto with his wife and a young boy because his young boy was had some serious medical issues where he could only be treated at Sick Kids Hospital. But the first thing he did after he dropped his wife at the hospital was he came straight to the Casa Camiso and he met the Camisos. When you see that, you understand that the Camisos are a powerful faction, because otherwise, why would you do that? Is he kissing the ring? Absolutely, he's kissing the ring. They were the leaders, without a doubt. Neil was a lieutenant for the Camisos. Neil, on his own, was a very successful businessman. He owned nurseries where they grow trees, flowers, that kind of type of stuff. He owned gymnasiums because, of course, they sold steroids and distributed steroids. He was a definite go-to guy for Cosmo Camiso. So at that time in the 90s, I started hanging out with Neil, Cosmo. I had good power in the streets. My job was more street control, right? I was more a street guy, you know? And at that time, the big deal was ecstasies. Everyone started talking about this ecstasy deal. And the clubs downtown, they were doing raves. They would make millions of dollars a year in sales for water bottles and the clubs and selling these pills. One of my guys, I'll never forget, he comes to my office. He goes, "Boss, why don't we go into the ecstasy business? I have a connection in Amsterdam. I could bring it in for cheap." I said, "Okay." So I said, "Well, how much is it?" He goes, "I could get it for around $2 a pill." I'm like saying, "Are you serious? $2 a pill? I could sell it for $20 a pill?" I said, "Let's try one. Let's bring 30,000 pills." As soon as it lands to my office, I have a buyer for about $15, $17, the whole thing in one shot. Wow, I made $150,000, $200,000 in one day. I'm like, wow, this is a good business. It was getting so much money, it was just crazy, you know? One day I made $1.2 million in one day. I had the businesses going, I had everything going. So what's my next market? My next market was to become a real mobster. I wanted to get into the mob. I wanted to be part of the main family, and the main family was controlled by Neil and Cosmo. They were in Woodbridge area. And we started working together. He started sending me to the captains in each crew to buy from me. The guy would come and say, listen, I need 30,000 ecstasies, 40,000 ecstasies, or I need 100 pounds of weed or 200 pounds of weed. So I was like, wow, this is perfect. I'm making more money. It was just crazy. And Neil was really getting closer to me. Anything he asked, I would do for him. And then he asked me for a favor. One time he had a problem downtown with some guys. So I sent 30 guys down there to help the problem. So he was very appreciative for me sending so many guys and last-minute call just to make sure it was done. So that's when we started getting closer. Then he started coming over to the office and we have meetings. And they're very nice with me, and they invite me for his house to have barbecue and have dinner and New Year's, my kids, my wife. And we came close. We became friends. And then we'll go to the restaurant and have lunch all day, you know? Cosmo will come and Neil will come and we'll sit down and we'll have lunch, we'll have bottles of wine and talk. And like, they brought me into the family. They brought me in close, you know? And I said, okay, well, now I got respect. The only person I respected was Cosmo and Neil. They're my bosses, that's it. Old-fashioned, real men, you know, real Italian background. Their word means something, you know? You don't have to sign a contract with Neil, you don't have to just shake a hand and it's done. I was more the gangster street guy, less rules. But when I started getting involved with them, I started to realize there's rules. But then again, there's more benefits, right? Started going so big. Now I had power, I had money, I had respect. I had everything I needed, because now I'm with the biggest family there is in control of Toronto. Cosmo's a businessman. I call him Big Boss. Cosmo is the main structure of the family. He's the one that controls the rules, the power, the respect, and he's the one that runs the show. It's got lines. Like, you know, you go to military, you have the colonel, general, we have the same thing on our own way. It's like a government, basically, with everybody has a role in their family to rule, right? The families are more of a corporation. Banking, extortion, protection, money laundering, drugs, anything that you are making illegally, or sometimes legally, you have to pay a percentage for the protection of the person that controls that zone or their family. And the structure is made usually that whoever's making money, you gotta pay up. Dakota is controlled by different cities and countries. But worldwide, you're talking about 80 billion, 73, 70 billion, 80 billion dollars a year. It's so much money because you have your fingers, it's like an octopus, it has it everywhere. You know, like every country. You know, some countries you can't even imagine the control. So the deal is to try to make much money as possible together without a conflict. If there's a conflict of interest, they have to talk it out. But sometimes it depends on the issues and if it could be resolved. When major issues come in front, they have to be met and discussed and figured, just like a corporation. So it's very structured, very professional. The table is structured with 5 or 6 people. They're not new, they're all people from the older ages, they're Carl's age. And basically, they control the structure of any major issues. Jimmy Maria, Osmo, Neil, there's his brother, and there's Chi-Chi. It's a group in which it's a sit-down. It's not just like one guy calls the shots and that's it. No, the family's there, and you try to make sure everything's happy. And basically, everybody tries to avoid wars and problems, but the bigger you grow, the more power you're gonna get, the more it's gonna happen.
I've been aware of Joey Limo since the 90s. He owned and operated a limousine business on steels. He was always a guy that knew a lot of bad guys. Sometimes bad things happened around him. He was well known in the intelligence world and in the criminal underworld. One of the things with Joey was, I think he had a lot of connections. He knew a lot of people And in that world, knowing people means you also have a lot of dirt on people.
In Canada, we have very strict disclosure laws. So every time you're arrested, you know, you can sit in your jail cell for 5 years and read your entire file and know exactly how all of the police techniques, you know, where we put probes in your car, how we do that, you know, how we do surveillance, where we sit when we conduct surveillance.
So we knew what the cops were doing, right? We knew that they were surveillancing. And I knew my office was tapped. I knew my office was watched in front. Neil's office was watched. They knew they were following Cosmo. So everybody knew what was going on, but just had to be careful. So I bought some things to surveillance. I had the little things that we put on the table, which would block the zoning. So even if you came and talked to me with the phone, I would block your phone. So you couldn't call out, you couldn't receive, but you couldn't receive nothing, right? I remember when Cosmo always talked, he always put his hand in front of his mouth, right? So I guess he was very, I don't know, very shy or protective, but he was never liked to talk openly. He's very secretive, doesn't like to talk to a lot of people. That's why we had people really close to him to get the information out what he needed to get out without, you know, putting himself in risk for things that he shouldn't do, because a lot of people, like a lot of rats, would try to get him because he's the head of a family. And he's smart enough that he's lived till now and he's still out there, right? I really got close to him, you know? And we spent a lot of time together. So, you know, and whenever they asked me to do something, I would do it in a flash, you know? I didn't have to waste or ask why or how, no. I would do it. And I came so close, I could tell you, I'd kill for him. I would do it in a blind sight. I wouldn't hesitate.
So here's a question. How many people have you killed?
I haven't killed anybody, you know? I just, to presume my life, you know, I haven't killed anybody. I wouldn't be saying that. People have gone to see the creator, but that's about it.
If you were a uniform officer working, you knew where his limo luxury car rental place was, again, very out there and boisterous. And that's why, no doubt, brought a lot of attention on himself, not just from police, but also criminal groups. He wasn't afraid to make enemies. He wasn't afraid to push back. So he made a lot of enemies, but he also made people a lot of money.
Got into an issue with another family. They tried to respect me, and I asked them nicely to pay me the money that was outstanding to me for doing what I had to do. And they knew they owed me the money, but they thought they could disrespect me, right? But I did my job. You know, you owe me money outstanding, you have to pay me. So they hired a hit guy from Italy, came to Canada with no suitcase, nothing, just a passport. But the cops stopped him at the airport when he came to Toronto, and they deported him back to Belgium, and then the cops from Europe, Interpol, grabbed him and put him to jail for life. And the second hit was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There was 5 guys that were trying to whack me. It was planned perfectly. They would hit me from each side, whack me. They had guns already. And apparently the next door neighbor was worried because they sees these 2 cars there, and we want to drop off the kid to the bus station. He calls the cops. So all of a sudden these cops come and they saved my life.
It's believed that someone was sent to Joe Ferraro's home. It was called in as a potential home invasion, but it's believed that it wasn't a typical home invasion for money. Probably a gun for hire to take him out as part of a vendetta or money owed, or you know, he's created that wrong enemy.
My next door neighbor, I bought him a case of champagne, Dom Perignon, I'll never forget. Bought him a case of champagne. I said, here's this case, thank you very much for saving my life. So it was so funny. That was the best part of my life. People have been trying to whack me for years. So, I mean, I'm alive because God thinks there's not time to go visit him yet. God thinks I'm still a good person, you know? Because in '99, I was making so much money and so many good things, and one of our guys Said to me, you know, there's a guy that's interested in buying some ecstasies. He wants to export. So I meet the guy. The guy says, you know, I want 20,000, 30,000 pills. I said, okay, no problem. He's an older man. He was an undercover cop. It was my fault, because I didn't do diligence. I let my guard down, and when you let guard down once, you're screwed. So I let my guard down, and I got screwed. I was charged with trafficking ecstasy, conspiracy to traffic cocaine. And then they come back and they say, hey, do you want to not go to jail? And I said, what do you mean not go to jail? Well, you can help us out with some information, and we don't have to go to put you in jail. I said, thanks for the offer, but I ain't writing anybody out. I'm not going to put somebody in my time and go to jail and suffer because I'm trying to save my ass. I ain't a rat. I'm going to jail. And it was my crew that turned on me. I'm in jail, and my right-hand man comes and tells me that he's taking over my business. He's taking over my house. He's taking over my leasing company. He's taking over my wife. He's taking every business I have in the streets. And that if I come back to Toronto when I have to come out of jail, that I'll be killed in 2 minutes and you have no control because no one is behind you. I was kind of shocked, so I went nuts. I'm fucking trying to punch the window. I'm trying to fucking jump the guy. I was gonna kill him. I was going nuts. I can't believe what they said to me, right? That whole my life was gone. So they put me in a private room where there's nothing on the floor, there's nothing, you can't do nothing. It's like a room where people are nuts and they let you cool off, right? So they left me there for a day or 2 days, I think, and then they said, okay, you okay? I said, yeah, I'm fine. And then when my 7 months are up, they put me in front of the board. And the board says to me, Mr. Ferrero, we heard that your business has been taken away by the bikers. Don't you think your life's in danger? Because they're gonna get you and kill you because they want to take all their property. I said, they took my business, they took everything. That doesn't matter anymore. I've lost everything. I just want to come out and I just want to do my life. I'm gonna just walk away. I'm gonna be a good little boy. I'm gonna let these fuckers take my money, my business, my house, my whole thing. I said, okay. He said, you know what? Tomorrow you're allowed to leave. I said, God, thank God. So I get to Toronto. I bought some coffees. I walked into the fucking office and they're all fucking there. Everybody's there. So, hey guys, how are you? I said, fuck it. I said, you know what? I just want to say hi and tell you I'm out. By the end of this week, I'll have this place belong to me. Here's your coffees. I want you to make sure that you know that I'm here and I'm coming back to my business. Everybody in the fucking office, like, they shit their pants. They're like, what the fuck? The guy just walked in and told everybody, I'm taking my place in the next few days. And be ready. He said, Cap, we wanted to wait until you come out. We told them we're with them, but we're not with them. We're just waiting for you to come out because if we wasn't with them, they couldn't work. They couldn't sell the drugs, they couldn't get a piece of the action, they couldn't move. But we're ready for you. As soon as you say the word, we'll have a meeting, we'll grab it, and we'll take the place over. Perfect. So I knew my guys were behind me. I was like, wow. Out of the 40, 50 guys, I had like maybe 35, 40 guys with me. I said, call my guys, tell them to start coming up to this restaurant because we're having a meeting. So when we walk into the restaurant, I see the Hell's Angel, Terry, Lou, and Ross, my ex-right-hand man. So I told Mike, I said, Mike, tell everybody from the restaurant to leave, I'll pay their bill. Just wait at the door and make sure when the guys come in, you let them in. So one at a time, we're sitting down on their table. They're talking, saying, you know, you fucking come to Toronto now, you think you're gonna take over the businesses, we're not letting you take in. I'm saying, oh yeah, okay. I say, okay, I understand. You got no piece of the ice. I'm saying, okay. So as everybody leaves at the restaurant, so the only table's us. All of a sudden, Mike opens the door, and Cousin, one of my guys, comes in. He's a big black dude. He's really balls. And he comes with gloves. And he comes over to the right-hand side and sits and says, hey, Captain, hey, boss, how are you? What's the problem? And he brought a gun from me. And I said, wait, we're gonna have a meeting, and I want him to be here. He goes, why'd you do that? I said, I called my guys I want to hear what you're offering, right? So then all of a sudden, one of my main guys, Tuffy, which is the head of my crew, comes in. He's a big 280-pound guy, really crazy, really fucked up, really nuts. People are scared of him. Comes and sits on my left side. All of a sudden, Mike closes the door, locks the door. I said, now you're gonna tell me what the fuck you want to say. So the guys, they're like, uh-oh. And I said, I'm gonna tell you something. See these fucking guys you thought they were with you? Can't you see they're with me? They played you motherfuckers, they prove it right now. Ross is a 250-pound right-hand man. He was a big buster. Puppy's so big, he grabs a chair and lifts him and throws him on the fucking floor. I said, get up, you fucking piece of shit. Sit down right now. He get up and sit down, he's like this. I said, don't fucking move. Don't say a fucking word, I'll get him to fucking kill you right now. And the guy starts crying. This piece of shit is supposed to be a boss of a family? This fucking bitch is crying. I said, is this what you want as a boss? And you think you're gonna take over my fucking business? And you're gonna take over my property and my houses? I'm gonna let you walk? All of a sudden, cousin makes it obvious. Cousin goes like this, and he passes me the gun in front of their eyes. And I go, Terry, what the fuck did you say to me that I can't come fucking to Toronto and I can't fucking do nothing? I said, is that what you said to me? He's like, whoa, wait a minute. I said, what happened, bro? Mind your fucking mouth, guys. 3 guys against 1. Talk to me like now. Tell me you're not gonna tell me what to fucking do. Remember Terry's face, he was like this. Holy fuck, he started backing up. And fucking Louis, I said, Lou, what are you gonna say? He puts his head down, the other biker, Harold Angel. What the fuck are you gonna say now? I said, tomorrow, 9 o'clock in the morning, I'm coming to the office. I want the keys, I want my locations back. Or else you're not leaving tonight. And if you do lie to me tonight, we're gonna get you. We're gonna get you good. We're gonna fucking kill you. I'm not wasting my fucking time. But I was so angry that I wanted to show, motherfucker, you're not taking nothing away from me. I'm gonna show you. I'll die before I let you go. And I'll kill you, motherfuckers. I have nothing to lose. I lost everything. You took my wife, you took my car, my business, my respect, and you told me I can't come to Toronto. We come to the office 9 o'clock in the morning. Before the door opened, we're at the door. It's like, here's your keys. So they gave me my stuff. I said, perfect. I want my house back. And all my guys are working for me now. And then everybody in the street knew what I did. So that was it. I got my business back. I had my power. My guys were back with me. So my job was to make money. Now what I do? Get back, get the interest, see better connections, get the flow back, right? Jail time and the things I did to get my power back gave me much more respect everywhere, you know? It just opened up the doors, you know? It just gave me to show me, you know, this guy's not just a fucking mouth. He actually did the time, he did the crime, he came out, fought against his crews, fought against the people, so it gave me more respect out there, you know? And then Neil, he backed me up 100%. You know, they would always say, what you need, and said, my guys need this, my guys need that, so I started selling to them, so my cash flow started getting back to normal. I was in 2001. They put a new order at that time that if you had a criminal record, you'd be deported. So I never see that coming, but I thought I could be too smart. I'll never get caught. If I get caught, you know, I have good lawyers, I'll get out. I thought I was untouchable, right? But in reality, the government has resources, and sooner or later, they're gonna get you. It doesn't matter how good you are, right? And that's what happened. I got caught, and the Bush mistake was not getting my citizenship, my Canadian citizenship. So in July 2011, I got deported to Ecuador. I was gone forever from Canada. That was a day where my whole life changed. I was into a new world. A world where I was born before, but I was never here. So it was a big change, you know, and the lifestyle change was drastically. You know, you spend millions in partying and enjoying, and now everything is gone, your family's gone, everything's changed.
Joey Limo, well, I know he got booted out of Canada to his native country in South America. We've known from Joey he's very familiar with the cocaine trade, and clearly being in a source country doesn't fare well on the rest of the world, giving Joe the opportunity to apply his trade. I will put my money on Joe that he is active in the drug world.
The only thing I would change is not getting caught and going to jail. Everything else I would never change because my life was a dream. I'm still in touch with the family from Canada. I still have the contacts, and my old boss, I have respect with him, and we say hello all the time, and hopefully in the next future, the near future, I should say, we're gonna see if we have to spend time together and he come visit. I don't want to give up my power and my money. I want to die with power and money.
It was the spring of 2014 when we first approached Camiso. This agent was the first time we had somebody since the famous Cecil Kirby as a police agent targeting the Camisos and the Andromeda since the 80s. May 27, 2015, 1338 for scenario 228.
Ed è che bote pazzica?
Allora, che pensi tu?
Ma che bote penso, senti, che bote?
Ci posso portare un pochino?
I'm almost certain people are watching us right now, wondering what we're up to.
Anytime you're running an agent, the amount of stress that's on an agent, the concern about that agent being found out.
The agent testified that cause wanted to murder him. There was a vote whether he would live or die.